Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X. Now, today we have a great show lined up for you. As usual, a mix of celebrities, impressive citizens, VIPs, and of course, tons of fun. Today's guests are quite amazing on My Fashion World segment, which is brought to you by our very own Biche Cucina. We have the beautiful and very talented Portuguese American artist Laurin Cabralisa. She is head designer of the women's wear collection at Dennis Basso luxury brand, and she just wrapped Fashion Week here in NYC. And she's going to be coming on in just a few to chat all things fashion, trends, her success, and what her average day looks like. Now, on My Digital World segment, welcoming back, we have Shahal Khan, CEO of Burkhan World and founder of Tempus Network, along with the very impressive female trailblazer, Janine Yorio, who is co-president at Republic Realm, a metaverse innovation and investment platform. Now, they're going to be joining me to discuss what a metaverse is and specifically what it means. Yep, in real estate. Now, I'm going to give you a small clue. A metaverse is basically an alternate digital reality where people work, play, and socialize. But I only know enough to sound smart, and I leave the rest up to the experts themselves. Now, our usual beauty bump is going to be delivered by the awesome Sari Katz, co-founder of Velour Medical, injector to the stars, and one of my besties. And then it gets better with My Business World, brought to you by Revere Securities. I'll be joined by our very own Kyle Wool, president of wealth management at Revere Securities, joining me with his good friend Matthew Tuttle, CEO and chief investment officer of Tuttle Capital Management. Now, Matthew is a very familiar face among the financial media. He has been on frequently CNBC and Fox Business as a guest. He is the author of How Harvard and Yale Beat the Market and Financial Secrets of My Wealthy Grandparents. They're going to be coming on to talk to us about ETFs and help you seasoned investors out there weigh your options. Now, in a nutshell, in my mom terms, simply put, an ETF is an exchange traded fund. All right. They're going to talk to us more about that. Now, I'm going to take a moment to chat about a great restaurant I wanted to put you guys onto. It's in Connecticut. Very fitting. We love CT. It's a seafood restaurant, and their featured dish is called the Clam Digger Platter, but their title is even better. It's called the Crazy Clam Digger. You guys have to check out this great restaurant. Go to the clamdiggerwaterbury.com. As a mom, I'm always looking for cool finds, and that was definitely a great spot. And interestingly enough, as I was online shopping for clam diggers, funny how that word seems to be popping up. For those of you unfamiliar with them, clam diggers are pants that end between the knee and ankle, and they're typically considered beachwear and are worn in casual settings. And another name for this type of pant is called the capri. Now, I like to shop beachwear at the end of the season, and it's always half off. Stay tuned. Up next, we have the beautiful Laurin Cabralisa. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, Tempus, Aikido Pharma, Vice Cucina in Midtown and Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, welcoming to the show after my mini fashion insight segment, which is actually very fitting, is Laurin Cabralisa. She is head fashion designer of Dennis Basso, a women's luxury brand, and she just came off her New York Fashion Week chapter. And in the fashion industry, guys, this usually means mad chaos for all brands showing. Now, those of you that have been loyal loyal listeners since the beginning know that our show is highly informative, filled with content and great parallels. So here's some food for thought regarding fashion. Now, as American style took center stage once again at the 2021 Met Gala just a few days ago here in NYC, and just recently New York Fashion Week 2021 set a new tone in our industry, reminding us that the pandemic only made us want to feel great about ourselves once more, driving crazy sales and numbers really high amidst this recovery. Now, I must admit, I'm a fashionista at heart, and so is my husband, and so is my daughter, and she's only 5.5. Currently, tiny sunglasses and low-rise jeans are making their comeback, and we have fashionistas like Bella Hadid and Hailey Bieber sporting this trend. And though it may seem like these styles just happen to be returning by coincidence, that's not at all the case. In fact, over the years, artists, stars, and celebrities have popularized the same accessories and looks that are reemerging in the fashion world around us today. And let me take you all down memory lane. You can see which fashion trend you belong to. Now, I've narrowed it down to some of my all-time faves, with James Dean being at the top of the list. Rebel Without a Cause set the tone for punk fashion, with James's leather jacket, white t-shirt, and jeans becoming a staple for any person's closet, regardless of gender. Then we have the iconic Jackie Kennedy. When JFK was elected president, he and his wife brought a youthful energy to the White House in more ways than one. Jackie revitalized the closets, filling the racks with Chanel suits and monochromatic looks. Then we have Audrey Hepburn. Love Audrey. The 1961 film Breakfast at Tiffany's is to thank for modernizing the little black dress. And Audrey's appearance in pearls and the high neck dress continues to influence fashion. And most recently, in Beyonce's ad campaign for Tiffany and Company, we saw this play out yet again. We also have Marilyn Monroe. The Some Like It Hot actress is the definition of the phrase blonde bombshell. Her plunging necklines and white dress from 7 Year Itch, it's one of my favorites, is a pervasive past of American culture, and the actress is to thank for making it fashionable to embrace one's sexuality and femininity. Mark Wahlberg is going to end my list. He was plastered across the walls of teenagers after appearing in nothing but his undies for Calvin Klein in 1992. Well, there you have that. And now this is going to parlay very nicely into my next guest. Joining me now is Laurin Cabralisa. She's an American Portuguese artist, and like I said earlier, head designer of the luxury brand Dennis Basso, where she designs the women's wear collection and manages a team of creatives, seamstresses, and pattern makers. She also has a passion for beauty and art and sells her paintings to high-end clientele. I got to see Laurin in action last week at Limani in New York City, where she showed the very impressive Dennis Basso Women's Wear Spring 2022 collection. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Thanks, Zen. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy you were able to make it over the weekend for the presentation. It was really great to have you.
Yes. Last weekend was great. I mean, you outshined yourself, and I was so proud to be there. Now, tell us, how did you go from pre-med to head designer at Dennis Basso?
So I've always had a love for fashion and for beauty, and I suppose growing up in a small town, it wasn't something that would be normal for somebody to go into fashion. There was not a community of arts or fashion where I grew up. So I went a practical route, and I decided that I wanted to go to school to be a dermatologist. So I went the pre-med route because I really loved beauty and dermatology, and I finished school, and then I went into pharmaceutical sales for 8 years. I moved to New York City. I still have a passion for that as well. But then I turned 30 and I started taking night classes at FIT, and I kind of decided, if I don't explore this now, then when will I ever do this in my life? And when I started taking classes in fashion, I decided that I wanted to pursue that. I really had a passion for it. So I went back to school. I I think I was 32 years old. So I was like in school with 18-year-olds, like pulling all-nighters. So it's not really the same when you're 33 years old pulling an all-nighter. But
Yeah, no, definitely. You definitely don't have that same stamina as you did when you
no.
were in college. I could,
No,
yeah.
there's not. But what you do have in your 30s as opposed to when you're 18 is you have a drive and you have a lot more focus. So I just did everything that I could to get into the fashion industry and meet as many people as I could. I also had worked in business for many years, so I kind of had a different perspective on things. So I started volunteering actually for Fashion Week with Dennis Basso, and I did numerous seasons with them 4 times a year, just volunteering, and then ended up taking a position interning. And then they hired me as assistant designer. Then I worked directly for the creative director, but she was leaving and starting her own line. So I sort of like was in the right place at the right time. And also, obviously, working hard. Like I won the graduating class fashion show. So I was like at the top of my class, but I also was in the right place at the right time. So that's how it happened, is to make a story short.
Wow, Lauren. So it's definitely very serendipitous. It's not your regular trajectory. You know, you kind of shifted midlife, midway, so to speak. Not that you're anywhere near midlife, but in terms of
Yeah.
mid education, so to speak. And so now you're there. You've managed to achieve this portion of your bucket list, so to speak, in terms of head
Yeah.
designer at Basso, at Dennis Basso. Where do you go from here? Do you want this career to continue, in the direction it's going, or at this point, do you want your own line? Tell us a little bit more. We'd love some insight.
Yeah, so I do feel like I've basically kind of gotten to the top of where I can be and like in my current position, and I love my company. Obviously, the fashion industry has been hit really hard during the pandemic. So, I think down the road, I'm definitely looking for opportunities to possibly start my own line, do something completely different. I wouldn't do something necessarily along the same lines of what I'm in now, but I think that that's definitely an option for me. I'm really interested in art and beauty, so I'm always doing my art on the side and meeting so many great people. I've actually sold a lot of paintings over this past year, during the year and a half during the pandemic, which has been sort of a shock to me. So, there's definitely other things that I'm interested in doing. So I'm kind of, all of these traits, even though they cross industries, and like you said, my trajectory has been fairly unconventional. A lot of the things that I've learned along the lines are very transferable. I learned about business. I learned about dealing with people, dealing with personalities, managing teams, growing business, social media. So there's been so many lessons that I've learned, and also
It's all actually very impressive when you look at your career and you look at, how you've bounced around, always, of course, in the arts and in the fashion industry, whether it's painting or whether it's designing, whether it's, putting on a fashion show. But, I see you in action. We're friends. I see you interact with friends and family alike. You're very passionate about everything you do. And there's a lot of people listening to you in awe saying, that's what I want to do. I want to be a fashion designer and put on a fashion show in New York City. What advice do you have to aspiring designers, whether it's girls, boys, whether they want to get out there and start sketching? What advice do you have?
So my advice would be, first of all, to just always go with what you love in life. Like, don't let, just because there's not a community around you that may be in support of your current, passion, don't let that stop you, because I'm a believer that, first of all, it's never too late. Even if you have a different career, it's never too late to follow your dreams and follow what you love. And if you're passionate and work hard, you can achieve that. And secondly, I think that everybody needs to be flexible. Especially nowadays, and especially in fashion. Fashion is becoming, like I said, everybody has been like really hit hard during the pandemic. I have to do 18 different jobs. It's not always about sketching and doing a fashion show that's 4 times a year. I'm doing marketing, I'm doing emails, I'm doing expense reports, I'm doing budgets, I'm dealing with the sales team.
You're running a company. You're running a company.
So I think just being flexible and being open to like working hard on any task that's given to you, I think is really good advice.
That's great. That's advice that I would give my daughter. And of
Yeah,
course, this is coming. Truer words could never be spoken once you're focused and once you are, like you said, flexible, but also you have many skill sets, and that's important in life. It's not, whether you say you're a designer, a musician, a chiropractor, a dentist. It's important to be able to manage your business on your own before you become that great at it. In the sense that even putting on a radio show, even having a show like A Moment of Zen, I have to know
yeah,
everywhere from content to
yeah,
writing to promoting it. It's
yeah,
not just me being on air talent, right? So I think the bottom line here, and I think what you're trying to say and what I'm hearing, Lauren, is that nothing in life is just, black or white. You have to be able to evaluate a situation, take control, be entrepreneurial, and
yeah,
become flexible with how you're willing to go about the rise of your career. So thank you for that insight.
exactly.
I drew a lot from you today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So for those of you that have not heard of Laurin Cabralisa, you should definitely check her out. She's all over the internet. You can Google her. You can go to her website, laurincabralisa.com, and you could definitely find her on Instagram. That's where I always interact with her. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you on, darling. Absolutely. Without a doubt, we will be talking very soon. Guys, you're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this with My Digital World featuring Shahal, Khan, and Janine Yorio.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, Tempus, Aikido Pharma, Vice Cucina in Midtown at Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few, we have Shahal Khan, CEO of Burkhan World and founder of Tempus Network. He's going to be joining me with over 22 years of experience in investments encompassing real estate, energy, natural resources, and of course, technology, along with the very impressive female trailblazer, Janine Yorio, co-president at Republic Realm, a metaverse innovation and investment platform. That sounds really interesting. They're going to be joining us on My Digital World segment to discuss metaverses in real estate. Now, the obvious. WTF is a metaverse? Well, it's basically an alternate digital reality where people work, play, and socialize. And let me tell you, it's far more than just a term coined from a Neil Stephenson sci-fi novel. The metaverse is being built today as we speak. Now, Wired's Kevin Kelly, who's really famous in this area, wrote a cover story in 2019 titled Welcome to the Mirror World. In it, he describes how augmented reality will spark the next big tech platform. And in essence, he says, we're building a one-to-one roadmap of almost unimaginable scope. And when it's complete, our physical reality will merge with a digital universe. And in other words, get ready to meet your digital twin. And the digital twin of your house, your country, your office, and even your life. Now, let me point that Republic Realm is among the largest owners of digital real estate NFTs in Decentraland, the Sandbox, and Axie Infinity. And to top it off, they are among the most active developers in metaverse content. Now, let's run through some basics now about the trio I just mentioned. Decentraland, it's a decentralized 3D virtual reality platform which uses the Ethereum blockchain. Now, the Sandbox is a virtual world where players can play, build, own, and monetize their virtual experiences. And Axie Infinity, voila, pay close attention, my friends. For those of you who missed the memo, is an NFT-based online video game, and this play to earn has generated $800 million in revenue in a single month, highlighting the surging popularity of games based on NFTs. Now, the online game developed by Sky Mavis allows players to generate profits through buying, breeding, and selling digital pets. known as Axies. Now, each time an Axie is purchased, the revenue is placed in a community treasury vault that's governed by Axie holders. Axie Infinity is among the biggest and most polarizing of these new games, which allows players to accumulate tradable cryptocurrency coins. This is a lot of information. Now, just how is this even at all possible? Well, I have my experts on hand, ready to stand by and answer our questions. Welcome to the show, my digital friends.
Hi, Jen. Thank you for having us.
Janine, what an honor. Shahal, thank you for coming back.
Thank you, Zen. Looking forward.
Now, Janine, let's start with you. How does this Yale graduate go from CEO of Compound, which is a fintech app focused on real estate investing, to being acquired by Republic last year and now into the metaverse technology play? How does the metaverse tie into gaming, Janine?
So I've been working in real estate investing almost my entire career. And when Decentraland came out a few years ago, we started watching it at the office just as a curiosity, thinking, I wonder if anything's going to come of this. You know, I think anytime you're in tech in an industry, you're always an early adopter and you're looking for new things to change your landscape. In the winter of 2021, it became apparent to me and the rest of my team that metaverse real estate really had some legs to it. We saw the NFT boom begin last fall, and Decentraland prices started to appreciate very rapidly, and so did some of the other metaverse real estate assets that were circulating. And we decided to create an investment product for it, thinking that if we're interested in this, there are probably other investors who are interested in it that wouldn't be able to figure out how to access it on their own. So what began as one metaverse real estate fund has since then expanded into something much bigger. And by being one of the first movers in this space, we realized how big the opportunity is, how many people want to get into it, but find it sort of hard to understand and inscrutable because of its crypto legacy, where there are a lot of big words that get tossed around that are difficult for a layperson to understand. And we've since started to build out an entire platform around metaverse investment and metaverse innovation because it's such a big category. There's so much opportunity there. And I'm so excited to build this company that I think will act as a very natural bridge between people who may not be avid gamers, they may not be crypto native, but they're going to be excited to be part of the metaverse because it's going to be something we're all talking about for the next decade.
Absolutely. And without a doubt, this sounds more like a community-based theme than just gaming experience, kind of feeling like you're part of something different or something bigger or something that's running parallel to our everyday. So yes, that's I completely agree with that. Now, Shahal, the difference between Axie and most other big in-game markets is that Axie encourages players to cash out and gives them the tools and basically transparency to do so. And instead of a semi-sanctioned peer-to-peer exchange on some unauthorized third-party marketplace, Axie players can take their Axies directly to a major cryptocurrency exchange and sell it for whatever is on offer. So we're talking about a large group of people who have never had crypto before, who have never had a wallet, and they've never transferred within the blockchain. And there are actually huge opportunities here, in my opinion, for crypto education. And I know you're all about educating the average person into this world. Now, because people see this more of a social network than a game, they fall in love with the community. Shahal, please give me your vision for Tempus regarding transparency, education, and building this community of sorts.
Yeah, Zen, the most important thing or problem that we have tried to solve, and I love what Axie Infinity is doing, and we've been following them closely and what they're doing in the Philippines, to bring up the bottom sort of layer of people that can't afford, let's say, to live based on just their own income. And they're using this as their secondary income source, as well as some of them maybe their primary income source. So the vision of Tempus has been similar, yet different in a way, but it's been to bring the 3 billion people that are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of income and being able to participate in society and use it as a method to earn by actively participating within a community-based program, a gaming program. So for us, what we've been doing is we will be launching our platform connected to a probably, I would say it's the largest e-gaming platform in the world. with about 400 million people. But a lot of these gamers are in Africa, they're in the Middle East, they're in Asia, and they're in the developing markets where they can't afford actually to even pay for a entry ticket in order to game. So we've designed Tempus in a way where the time that they spend gaming, we're actually accounting that time as a form of income. And we are then paying them through our Tempus coin as income, which they could cash out through a fiat bank. So we've spent a lot of time working on an entire financial rail system globally to allow them to not only earn money in crypto, but also then participate in the real world by cashing out their crypto in a fiat bank so they could use it to live. And that's very similar to what Axie Infinity is doing in their metaverse. And I think it's an amazing thing that they've done. And I think the same thing will happen in metaverse is people will start to realize income gains. And when that attaches to our reality, this sort of bifurcation becomes a singularity in a positive way, let's say.
Absolutely.
I think it's a lot of people.
You're right. You're right. And Janine, I'm going to throw this back to you. Metaverse, the Republic Realm also invests across newly launched metaverses and metaverses that are under development. And investment in digital real estate specifically occurs through the purchase and exchange of NFTs. Can you walk us through what influences the value in these NFTs, and why is this such a wave of investment for the ever-growing popular crypto user?
So there are two kinds of NFTs, right? There are the kind that are sheerly for collection and speculation, things like Bored Ape, things like CryptoPunks, where the value of those NFTs are largely driven by whether lots and lots of people think that they are valuable, right? It's kind of like contemporary art. I can like it, but if nobody else likes it, it's not worth a lot. But if lots of people think it's a very canonical piece of art, suddenly it's like the Mona Lisa, right? We all agree that it's worth a lot of money. A lot of that is happening in NFTs today, where you see these very powerful communities that are really excited about a certain NFT project, and the values get driven up, and then more and more people buy in, and it has this sort of self-fulfilling loop. And those NFTs become very valuable. In digital real estate are NFTs in the sense that they are non-fungible tokens that can be traded on the blockchain. But the value of that real estate is largely derived from how popular that metaverse is. So it's about user adoption, user traction. Is the community really excited about that particular metaverse? And we saw that happen with Axie Infinity, where people literally set up esports centers. They were former call centers in the Philippines, and they're so excited to play this game because they're making money doing it, that this game became very popular. And then the assets inside that game, the land, the Axies themselves, became valuable as a result. We saw that happening more with Sandbox. Even though Sandbox is pre-launch, they've done such a great job about bringing on different brand partners and doing marketing those brand partners in a very visual way. And as a result, the land inside Sandbox has also appreciated a great deal. And we'll look for the same qualities in new metaverses. Like if we think it's likely to catch on, if the team has built a really successful non-crypto based game in the past, if they have a really cool go-to-market strategy, if they have an influencer involved in the metaverse that's likely to bring lots of users and keep them around, then we think that real estate will become more valuable, and we're more willing to invest in it.
Wow, this is so fascinating to me. Here we are talking about, digital worlds and digital lives, and we've come so far as a society. And I think this is just kind of the beginning of something huge. Now, we have about 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Many see the metaverse as a pandemic fad, wrapping it up with the current NFT bubble. And this is really sad because this misses the bigger behavioral change that is happening amongst the Gen Alpha. And when you watch how they play, it becomes clear that the metaverse is more than just the buzzword. Shahal, what do you say to these detractors? We have about 2 minutes left.
Okay, so I'll take 60 seconds, and then of course, Janine, I'd like her to finish this off because I'd love to hear what she has to say about this. I think that these platforms are going to evolve. I think they're great examples for education in the future. I think they're great examples for community-based work, where communities, decentralized communities, can get together and have focuses on projects from everything from charities to building workflows and even societies of cooperation that they can actually create value in, separate from our realities. And and have inclusion. The biggest problem with this real world that we've created is a lot of people are not included in that real world. And I think this could be a way for people that are not included to have inclusion.
Without a doubt. Janine, if you want to piggyback on that, we have about a minute left. I mean, look, we know that Axie Infinity is the leading blockchain game, and they've reached an cumulative trading scale of over $1 billion US. What do you say to this?
I think that the world evolves, right? We all grew up with television and then social media, and those were our drugs, and they were how we interacted with culture, how we learned about new culture, and how we interacted with our friends. This next generation, you called it Gen Alpha, the way that they interact with technology is very different than the way we have, and they look for a more 3D immersive experience. For them, scrolling through Facebook or Instagram feels a lot like how we felt about looking at the white pages or the yellow pages. Like, it's just too 2D. It's not immersive enough. And so the metaverse is just a different way of interacting with technology that is more immersive. And think about it, Facebook and all of the social media channels warmed us up to the idea of connecting with our friends virtually. Zoom has just accelerated that process. When you think about the metaverse as just sort of a 3D proxy in a 2D environment that starts to feel much more like what young people today expect from their interaction with the internet, you realize it's not a fad, it's the future. We're already there. Watch any child today play Minecraft or Roblox, and you will see they're not going to be happy with Instagram. It's too flat. It doesn't have voice chat. It's not immersive. It doesn't give you like a place to visit your friends. So it's absolutely happening.
Absolutely happening. Well, we've run out of time. Thank you so much, Shahal Khan and Janine Yorio, co-president at Republic Realm. Shahal Khan, a CEO and founder of Burkhan, of Tempus, a Burkhan World project. Thank you so much for coming on the show, guys.
Thank you. Thanks,
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this. That was My Digital World.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, Tempus, Aikido Pharma, Vice Cucina in Midtown at Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Hi, I'm Sari Katz with this week's beauty tip for A Moment of Zen. So what's a big fat debate in the aesthetic industry right now? It's actually if non-invasive procedures like Kybella are as effective as liposuction in fat reduction. Well, Kybella is an injectable that was approved in 2015 for the submental fullness region, or what we call the double chin. How does it work? It's a bile salt similar to that found in our intestinal tract that breaks down the cell membrane of fat cells, causing the contents to be absorbed by the body. So it's been approved for this area under the chin, but it's also used in a lot of areas off the neck and face, like the bra fat area, the lower abdomen, the back of the thigh where we see that banana roll under our butt cheeks, and the inner and outer thighs. So what's so great about it? Well, it's non-invasive. You do not have to undergo the knife. You do not have to get a scalpel or anesthesia, and it can be done at a lunchtime break. Well, what's the negative about it? So it's not as effective as the one and done liposuction procedure. It does take multiple sessions spaced about 4 to 6 weeks apart to obtain the optimal results. With each procedure, the patient will swell, so I do recommend wearing turtlenecks and scarves, but it is a gradual change in that submental fat. So it's really a preference. What do you prefer? Do you prefer a one and done procedure like liposuction? That might even be a cheaper option given that it's only a one-time procedure. Or do you not mind spending a little extra to avoid the knife and undergo a non-invasive procedure that's just an injectable that could be performed on your lunch break despite a little bit of swelling? Really, the jury's out, and I leave that decision in the hands of the patient. But that's your beauty tip for A Moment of Zen with Sari Katz. I'm Skin by Sari, and you can find me on Instagram also at Velour Medical.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, Tempus, Aikido Pharma, Vice Cucina in Midtown at Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, up next, we have Kyle Wool, President of Wealth Management at Revere Securities. And Kyle is very knowledgeable with investment banking and managing portfolios. And joining us today is good friend Matthew Tuttle, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Tuttle Capital Management. Now, Matthew is a very familiar face among the financial media. He's been a frequent guest on CNBC and Fox Business, and he's the author of How Harvard and Yale Beat the Market and Financial Secrets of My Wealthy Grandparents. Now, they're going to come on in just a few to talk to us about ETFs and help you seasoned investors out there weigh your options. Now, in a nutshell, in my mom terms, simply put, an ETF is an exchange-traded fund, an investment fund of sorts that trades on a stock exchange like a mutual fund, in that it's a large portfolio of securities and can include hundreds of stocks or other assets like bonds or commodities. Now, the Revere Sector Opportunity ETF began trading on the New York Stock Exchange under RSPY August 24th. That was just a few weeks ago. Check out this awesome footage of Kyle and president of the Revere Securities team ringing in the bell at the New York Stock Exchange last week. That was a proud friend moment right there. Now, Revere has a very proprietary process overlaid across the 11 sectors of the S&P 500 index, and Kyle has a knack of identifying leadership through macro analysis as well as options intelligence. Here to break it all down for us on the business side, Kyle Wool and Matthew Tuttle. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Kyle, so nice to have you back. Now, I'm going to start with you, Matt. What are some of the more obvious characteristics of an ETF, and how many companies is typically one of these ETFs made up of in general?
Yeah, so, back in the day, everyone used to invest in mutual funds, and those are becoming dinosaurs. I mean, they already have become dinosaurs. ETFs are replacing them and will completely replace them over the next couple of years. The cool thing about ETFs are, number one, you can see the holdings every day updated, so you know exactly what you own. And number two, you can buy the ETF at any time during the trading day. You don't have to wait until the end of the day. And you can buy it and sell it at, as much as you want during the day. Typically, ETFs could have hundreds of stocks in them, but you might have more concentrated ETFs out there. Given that our SPY is allocated to the sectors of the S&P 500, that's going to be an ETF that underlying it is going to have hundreds of stocks.
Amazing. This sounds a little bit safer than your regular model. Kyle, I'm going to ask you this question. Now, the first ETFs, which were introduced in the late 1980s and early 1990s, they were relatively plain vanilla products, like Matt just said, that traded equity indexes as the Standard & Poor's 500 index and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That since then, the range of available ETFs has exploded to include practically every asset class: stocks, bonds, and real estates, commodities, currencies, etc. Does the our SPY have a focus?
Yes, it's actually kind of an evolution of the original ETF, which was SPY, which was the S&P 500 released by State Street many, many years ago. What our SPY does, it looks at the S&P 500. And as you mentioned earlier, it looks at the 11 sectors under the S&P 500. And then we go out and we weight the sectors according to what we think will perform best over the next 3, 6, and 9 months. Typically, if you look at SPY, it'll look backwards. Whatever performed best over the last 6, 9, and 12 months will be the largest allocation of the S&P, of SPY, but we're looking differently. Even though technology has been the leader during the COVID period, it may not be the leader over the next 6 to 9 months. It still could be the leader, but it may not be. We may be looking for asset classes that haven't outperformed, like industrials, real estate, and communications. And those are three of the sectors right now that our chief analyst, Scott Folman, is overweight.
So this is a great team that you have together. I mean, it seems like you're crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's. These are, not simple things to formulate and to really kind of, pick and choose exactly how you're going to go about these investments. But for Matt, competition among ETF issues has resulted in the introduction of these ETFs that are very specific and focused. So young investors can find specific ETFs that track very particular markets or segments that may, be particularly appealing to specifically them. And as early as of 2020, there were at least 2,177 US based exchange traded funds, according to data from Fidelity Investments. So for young investors, this extensive range of available ETFs offers a wide variety of investment choices. In your perspective, Matt, and this is your wheelhouse, why Revere's RSPY? Why specifically this one?
So, the way a lot of people look at ETFs is kind of from a core and satellite approach. So something goes in kind of the core of the portfolio, and then on the outside, they're using some of the more specific kind of thematic things to kind of round out their portfolio. And so traditionally, investors have used something like SPY, but the S&P 500 in its current incarnation has been around like this for decades. It's not, some smart group of guys deciding, hey, we want this much here, this much there. And also, as Kyle mentioned, it's a market cap weighted index. So it's not, hey, we're overweighting technology because our analysts think technology is good. It's we're overweighting technology because those stocks have gone up a lot. And, again, reiterating what Kyle said, that doesn't mean that technology or communications or any of the S&P 500 sectors are going to be the best going forward. So what our SPY does is a core product is really applies analysis to, hey, let's just not, have our largest sector allocation be the largest stocks. Let's look at this in a smart way. Let's look at the fundamentals. What's going on with these companies? Let's look at the technicals. What's strong? What's weak? What may be overbought? What may be oversold? So you're really applying analysis to deciding what to be in, and then you can be entirely out of sectors. Energy is kind of a love-hate sector. That's a sector sometimes, hey, you want to be out of that. So there's just so much stuff you can do here. And with the market at all-time highs, at some point, you're going to see a bear market. At some point, you're going to see a correction. Having that flexibility in a core product, A, is extremely unique, and B, is extremely important.
It's so interesting when you talk about this stuff. Like I'm listening to you, and it triggered something that I read because there's a number of, and this maybe I'll throw this one to Kyle. There's a number of inverse ETFs which trade in the opposite direction to an asset or market, and leveraged ETFs that basically magnify results by 2 or 3 times. And these are very interesting methods that are kind of like the new way of investing, so to speak. Kyle, what do you say to those inverse ETFs and leveraging those ETFs that magnify these insane results? Is that something that that Revere Securities is also looking at?
I think when someone looks at a leverage ETF or an inverse ETF, they need to truly understand what these products are. These products are for professional investors. They are not for the average retail investor. These products only mimic that index during that trading period between 9:30 to 4 o'clock. The longer you hold those products over time, those will decouple to the actual underlying. They're just for professional traders. And I would say for any average investor, they should be very careful and know exactly what they're buying. With that said, there are a lot of ETFs out there that will focus on exciting parts of the market like AI, quantum computing, micro caps, satellite space, where you can also get a tremendous amount of beta or possible upside, but without using derivatives and really taking risk by not truly understanding what a leveraged or inverse ETF truly is.
Understood, understood. And, and the more that I keep doing these segments with you and your professional team, I'm like an expert by the end of the year. So Matt, when we started talking about, these ETFs and keeping up with the trends via ETFs, one of the principal reasons for the rapid growth of ETFs is that their issuers like Revere Securities have been at the leading edge in terms of introducing new and innovative products. And I love that about Kyle and his team. From your point of view, what's the biggest mistake somebody can make if they are not careful with these ETFs in terms of investment?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of them. Number one is chasing after performance. You've had so much stuff go up so far, so fast, especially since COVID, that, typically investors, when they're going to get into something, they get into it late. And so much stuff is moving. I mean, Bitcoin, meme stocks, de-SPAC companies. There's so much stuff that's moving up and down so quickly that, by the time an investor hears about it, chances are it's too late, which again just goes back to a core product like RSPY. Why it's so important is it's something you buy and hold and you put into your portfolio, and you don't have to do anything with it. You set it and forget it, because the underlying active management is doing what needs to be done. Then, if you want to try to play some of these memes and themes, you can do that on the outskirts of your portfolio, but definitely make sure your core is taken care of.
Absolutely. That you just said it. Management is key. And Kyle at Revere Securities, that's what their wheelhouse is. That's what they do. Combined with an expert team and you're also directly involved, it makes for a great management opportunity for your clients. So thank you so much both for joining us. You guys have given us a nice overview of what this entails. Thank you for both coming on. And I truly love the expertise here. And so do my listeners.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. The bottom line is that young investors who are not altogether familiar with the intricacies of the financial market might be well served by investing in an exchange traded fund that tracks the broader market. And as you heard both our experts tell you, sector funds enable investors to take bullish or bearish positions in a specific sector, while inverse ETFs and leveraged ETFs, like Kyle said, make it possible to incorporate advanced portfolio management strategies. And some other characteristics of ETFs that make them ideal investment vehicles for young investors include this diversification, liquidity, and low fees. Investment management choice is key, and innovation. Remember, get your latest business news right here with Kyle Wool on 710 WR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, Tempus, Aikido Pharma, Vice Cucina in Midtown at Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Well, that's a wrap, my friends. Thank you for being loyal listeners. Many of you have already texted me for collaborations, and I love it. Please keep those texts coming. You can text feature me or collaboration to 917-575-2321. Again, that number is 917-575-2321. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you guys can always go to 710WOR.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen to watch fully uploaded episodes as of Monday morning. Please tune back in next Saturday night at 9 p.m. I have an amazing and exciting lineup of guests. We have fashion male model Rudy Bundini. He has over 2.8 million followers on Instagram. We're going to talk about how he landed in the Big Apple as a boxer and turned into a self-made mega fashion model. We also have Dr. Suchi Chavla, on My Healthy Minutes, which we're going to be chatting about the bias against women in the maxillofacial surgery field. And My Big Reveal, I'll talk about my incredible comeback story after my facial trauma back in 2012. We're also going to be chatting with Paul Caldwell, Chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames. We're going to chat about OG Pay, and he's going to review the new NFT platform called OG2D. That's original to digital. And they're going to kick off the Caldwell Soames new sponsor of the month, and we can't wait to announce them. Well, till next Saturday, thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It has been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. Till next week, and remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.